Hey everyone. I would like to begin by sharing the title of my book, which is Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence and Why It Can Matter More Than Your Actual IQ. I would like to start off with a scenario. Picture yourself in a maze, nowhere to turn to, too jumbled up in a mess. Remember, you have no idea where you are or how you got there. Taking a turn, getting more and more frustrated at every dead end you encounter. It is shocking how many emotions and how one's control or lack thereof can either elevate or drag you down. You cannot rely just on your intelligence as your emotional mind starts to overbear your rational mind. This is to say that when your emotions are not in check and you are not able to use tools such as self regulation, self awareness, motivation, empathy, and social skills, you will end up in a maze of emotions. These are concepts in which Daniel Goleman emphasizes in his book. This brings me to the overall book and how Goleman delves deeper into what it means to be smart through his eyes. I would like to go over a summary of the book. So, Goleman's book sets a scene of events or tragedies that have taken place through various points in times, each tragedy different from another. But what do they all have in common? All these tragedies stem from a place where passion or emotion overwhelms cognitive reason. Goleman does this to facilitate the understanding that our emotions are, in fact, impulses, in other words, biological. Goleman further discusses the distinction between what he calls the emotional mind and the rational mind. To elaborate, the rational mind is that part of our head that allows us to comprehend or ponder and reflect, whereas the emotional mind is another system that relies on impulsiveness and at times is illogical. However, both separate entities, they operate together for the most part. Goleman's point of view shows the reader that what society has deemed smart is now antiquated. He redefines what smart is as he questions the way intelligence itself is used in everyday life. Intelligence is not always the answer, especially when dealing with emotions. We have to learn to separate them. Goleman's point is to show how emotional intelligence is relied upon in instances of fight or flight. A person relies on instinct, not intelligence in critical situations. Emotional intelligence allows a person to think through and understand their emotions to respond to a current circumstance. This drives another point in which Goleman then begins to list the skills and concepts associated with emotional intelligence and how they're connected to the brain's specific biological routes. This is how the rational and emotional mind work together to execute emotional intelligence as each is found in the brain. The limbic system is the emotional mind, and the neural cortex on top of the limbic system is the rational mind. Each concept Goleman mentions plays a role, and when perfected, can emotional intelligence flourish. So, the overall question that we need to answer is what exactly is emotional intelligence? To begin, emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, understand, and regulate one's own emotions and the emotions of others in an effort to use emotional information to act not out of impulse, but reflect accordingly in a given environment. On the screen here, we have knowing one's emotions, managing and recognizing emotions, motivating oneself, and handling relationships. These skills, when achieved, can equal emotional intelligence. On the screen, we also have a picture depicting emotional intelligence, and the other side, intellect. Things like empathy, motivation, self reflection, managing relationships, social awareness, and self control. These are also concepts in which Goleman goes further into in detail on how they equal emotional intelligence and how, when they come together, can emotional intelligence take place. On the other side is the intellect part of our mind, such as critical thinking, analysis, expertise, consequence design. This can be seen as how IQ and EQ differentiate from one another and what they are more in used to in certain circumstances. These here are the concepts, specifically the five concepts of emotional intelligence in which Goleman further explains. To begin, we have self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Self awareness is the ability to recognize a feeling as it is happening. This is keystone because it allows us to, in a moment's time, realize the emotions that are taking place. The second thing self awareness allows is the ability to monitor feelings from moment to moment. As soon as our mood shifts, a person who is self aware understands what is happening in the current situation and knows that their mood shifted, for instance, from angry to sad in an instant. Self awareness also allows one to understand how your emotions affect not only yourself, but the others around you, as we are able to reflect on the emotions that are currently taking place and how our sadness can also reflect upon others. Awareness, it also gives us awareness of our limitations and boundaries, how far we are willing to go, and how far we can push ourselves in emotional circumstances. This will help in one's ability to have a more optimistic outlook in life. This is because being able to recognize or monitor your emotions allows you to see these limitations and boundaries head on and could lead you on a path to success. One can say that this is a tool in an arsenal of emotional intelligence to get you on the right path and keep you there. Next, we have another concept, which is self regulation. It is the process of managing one's emotions at a given point in time. It enables one to react through emotional impulses. This is also key. It is the ability to think about what's going on in an instance, see how our emotions might either benefit us or bring us down if we react in the wrong way. That's why we have to react through the impulse that the emotional mind may trigger us to think with instead of the limbic system. The third is it helps someone not give in completely into emotion in order to react accordingly, as I mentioned. This concept is important in everyday life, especially in places that need constant regulation of emotion, in high stress areas, or areas where you need to think before you speak. Places like a workplace scenario, especially when a disagreement takes place, one must think before they act, especially in these circumstances where emotions could be high. And not only that, but other people's emotions could also be involved. This is the perfect time to self regulate one's emotions and see what best fits the situation. Next, we have motivation. Motivation is also a key factor in emotional intelligence and in everyday life as well. It is enjoying and having hope about your goals and how you get there. So, it's to say that on the road to motivation, we need to keep constantly thinking about our goals, but not overwhelming ourselves with getting there at a specific time. That's why we have to also achieve minor goals. Minor goals give us that satisfaction and allow us to keep continuing what we want to do. It motivates us to do better and to stay on track. Um, it also allows you to work in a way that helps you to keep going by reaching smaller goals, as I mentioned. These smaller goals will push oneself to reach the overall goal. Motivation plays an important role in everyday life and it creates confidence. It's another way to really set oneself up for success in reaching their goal. Next, we have something that's really important in emotional intelligence: empathy. Empathy is different from sympathy. Empathy, as seen here, allows you to understand other people's emotions. Basically, it is to say that you can put yourself in someone else's shoes and see and actually feel what they're feeling. You're able to negate your emotions and replace them with the other person's in order to really get their point of view, as seen here. It allows you to see their point of view, which creates connection. Connection is key in emotional intelligence. This gains trust and builds relationships with others. Next, for empathy, it shows other people that you care and are actively engaged. It means to say that you are there, you are listening, you are actively listening, which is crucial. This is what gains that trust between coworkers or in relationships in general. Actually being able to step back and feel what the other person is feeling by letting them speak and share their emotions. Empathy is crucial in emotional intelligence because this is what allows you to earn the respect of others. It's based on trust and it allows you to think and understand various points of views, which is necessary in not just workplace settings, but it also gives you this trust factor, not only in yourself, but others, especially if they have empathy as well. Social skills. Social skills are also important. This is to say that this sums up many of the things that we need in emotional intelligence. This is how we act out, how we are highly emotional intelligent or lack in the field of emotional intelligence. To begin, social skills have able allow you to manage your relationships. They also enable you to have good conflict resolution skills, which is good in workplace settings and in relationships overall, especially when dealing with arguments with people who are both high on emotion. It also allows you to pick up on social cues, how to act in certain instances, and basically, it also allows you to have that self awareness around you. It also helps you better connect with others by being able to communicate effectively. Social skills are important in everyday life and play a key factor on how we execute emotional intelligence. The reason I chose Goleman's book in the beginning was is the fact that I took a class on emotional intelligence. It was called Emotional Intelligence and Leadership. I took it here at Rutgers. At first, I thought it was just going to be like a simple course, but it really made me grow as a person and it opened my eyes up to the fact that a leader is more than what we perceive it to be today. When active leaders are born or made, the reason I say made is because the book showed me that leaders are more than just someone who is in charge of others. And it's not just, as mentioned, top down. Every bit has to connect. The leader is the one who has to make these connections in order to get a good team. This book and Goleman's made me see that a leader has to be emotionally intelligent. As a leader, you must master the concepts to connect with your workers and rely on your team. This is to say, making connections through things such as empathy and using your social skills, using these concepts that Goleman mentioned is how you create a team, how you create an environment in which people love to work in and actually feel like they're a part of something. This is what makes you a good leader. Being able to acknowledge all of the components of your team, not just taking credit, not just managing. There's more to it, especially today in a world where we can't make these face to face connections anymore. How do you still create these connections? This is why emotional intelligence is key. You have to be able to adapt in certain instances. And that's why intellect isn't always the greatest way to measure what is smart. A leader has to understand all viewpoints and actively listen to communicate and empathize with their workers. How else will they be able to handle such big projects amongst also having to deal with conflict resolution issues in the workplace itself? It's managing not only your own emotions as someone who is in charge, but also managing the emotions of those around you. This is why emotional intelligence is key when being a leader. You have to be able to manage it. You cannot just not have that self regulation of emotions because you also are someone people are looking up to. This is why I feel leaders who are emotionally intelligent are more successful overall. They help maintain happier environments, as I mentioned, in workplace and everyday life. They are the key to keeping everyone together and keep moving forward through things such as motivation. And they are people who keep going no matter what. I feel that the five concepts that Goleman uses as a way to redefine what is smart are key in a leader. Someone who is self aware, someone who does have social skills, someone who self regulates and is able to empathize with workers and those around them, and most of all, someone who motivates not just themselves, but others. This is why Daniel Goleman's and the emotional intelligent leadership class played a key role in helping me find the way I am a leader to others and how I want to lead in the future. My discussion question is, as leaders, how would you implement the five concepts when solving a conflict in the workplace? Use the concepts that I mentioned earlier and see how you implement them in solving a conflict. These are my works cited and where I got my pictures. And overall, thank you for listening to me. And I hope you take something away from what we learned today. Bye.